look around today and we see a lot of unhappy people, a lot of unhealthy people. Depression levels are higher than ever, stress levels are higher than ever, as well as diseases. So I find that through technology, they can be great tools for us to learn from. Even if you take a topic like health, it can be very overwhelming for a lot of people, as well as complicated, and people don't have the time, especially now. People like convenience, easy and fast. So with technology, it's a beautiful tool to help people go through that process in a more easy and fun way. More powerful technologies that will utilize, let's say, essentially what the world is made up of: frequency, plasma, and scalar energy. Now, if we can combine all these beautiful forces into a technology, and we can use that, we can even fast forward our health.
Can you elaborate, maybe it's a personal experience or something that you saw that you decided to go down this path of creating this business?
Yeah, so
welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and itself. Today, we have Victoria Leonardo, a model turned entrepreneur that found a love for health, wellness, and expansion. She's leveraging new technology, specific places in the world, and her knowledge to allow people to have access to freedom. Thank you, Victoria, for joining me today.
Thank you, Kyle, for having me.
We spent the last 10, 15 minutes kind of talking prior to going live here. And it's exciting to hear your angle and your perspective of what it truly takes for a human being to find themselves, to be able to root themselves into what they need in this world, which is to find happiness and to find their path and their direction in a way that's not overwhelming, but is designed and guided for them. Can you break down a little bit of the business that you have today, what you created, and really why? Why did you start this whole thing to give people, as you said, freedom?
Well, we look around today and we see a lot of unhappy people, a lot of unhealthy people. Depression levels are higher than ever, stress levels are higher than ever, as well as diseases. And there was a time where this wasn't the truth. So we have to kind of look around us in our current society, in our ecosystems, and what is happening that's causing us to be so disconnected from ourselves. We are more disconnected from nature than ever before, as well as relationships with ourselves and others. And of course, now we've become more of a digital landscape in how we connect, how we work, that it's really taken a toll in our physical relationships. We're really missing that human connection. So essentially what I want to do is help people connect to those extremely fundamental, let's say, pillars or elements, so we can live a fulfilling life, a life that we were always meant to live, a happy life, a stress-free life. And I believe that it's more than possible. And I always say life is beautiful, so why live anything below it or less than that?
That's gorgeous. I need to unpack that a little bit because, as you said before the call, there's new technology that you're leveraging. There's certain points in the world that you're leveraging to help people find that, as we would call, frequency, that radiance that they need to feel good about themselves, the people around them, their vision and their mission in this world. Can you break down a little bit of how you created this process, the tools that you're using, and some of these specific locations that you're leveraging?
Yes. So essentially what I'm doing is replicating the same process and the same experience that worked for me and helped me kind of not only raise my frequency, but activate this very fulfilling life. So the world is a very beautiful place, and it's not just countries and cities where we live, but each destination, each location has a very strong energetic code. We can say portal, we can say energy points that us as humans can connect to or download from. That's why sometimes you hear in ancient civilizations or ancient texts talking about sacred land. So because I've traveled a lot in my career as a model in the past, I've had access to a lot of different places in the world, but also people that guided me to where these hotspot frequency are. So essentially, I choose these very exclusive locations to curate these expansions where we can all come together and activate, let's say, knowledge together.
And can you give us an example of some of these locations? I mentioned to you that I just got back from Stonehenge, and that's a location that a lot of people say have a different energy, and there's a chakra point that sits at Stonehenge. I learned about all of this last week, which was profound, but made a lot of sense because as I sat there, there was just a different feeling and a different vibration. Can you mention or maybe bring up some of these locations? If it's all hidden and you're not allowed to share it, totally
No,
understand.
it's not hidden. And it's like you said, you know, when you go to a certain place, and I think all of us also resonate differently to different places, right? Because we have different experiences. So when you went to Stonehenge, and, you know, it is one of those places that you go to and you feel such a presence. Wait a second, there's something magical here. There's something not normal going on. And it's very peaceful. It's very calming. You know, and there's a lot of places like this on the planet. Mexico has a lot of specific spaces like this. Of course, Egypt, not just because of the pyramids, but this was a huge ground for activation and technology, actually, in the past. So there are some beautiful places on this planet that we haven't properly explored.
I love that. And I think as we get more and just entwined with our phones and through the digital world, we separate ourselves a lot from those locations. And you brought up that you're using some specific technology to really allow people to resonate in these areas. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, so I've been very fortunate and lucky because I've always loved technology. You know, I come from a background of a gamer. I've always played a lot of video games. So I saw even how the future markets were going to in VR and XR and etc. So I find that through technology, they can be great tools for us to learn from, right? Because even if you take a topic like health, it can be very overwhelming for a lot of people, as well as complicated, and people don't have the time, especially now. You know, people like convenience, easy and fast. So with technology, it's a beautiful tool to help people go through that process in a more easy and fun way. So I always look for different technologies to be able to bring that to people,
Is this
make
like
it more available.
is this like a grounding mat? Is this like, you know, I have an acupuncture mat sitting by my bed that I step on when I wake up in the morning. I think it's just to wake myself up. I don't really get very grounded from that mat. But can you give us an example of some technology?
Yeah, absolutely. Grounding mat it's a great tool, and it's been around for many years. But then there are even more potent tools, right? More powerful technologies that will utilize, let's say, essentially what the world is made up of: frequency, plasma, and scalar energy. Now, if we can combine all these beautiful forces into a technology, and we can use that in our human experience, then we can elevate much. We can even fast forward our health, and this is essentially what I want to bring to people.
Oh, that's amazing. You know, us as entrepreneurs, we always start a business because of a problem that we see in the world, something that we want to solve. So can you elaborate, you know, maybe it's a personal experience or something that you saw that you decided to go down this path of creating this business?
Yeah, so for me, it started 13 years ago when I had a big awakening into the life that I was having. And once I made a really big change in my identity and my lifestyle, I quickly saw how much more fulfilling my life became. And not only in terms of happiness and health, but I reached such levels in my mind of peace. And then I started attracting such beautiful opportunities, beautiful people coming into my life and bringing forward this knowledge that I was seeking. And I was able to then, it was almost like, I don't want to say like leaving the matrix for a bit, but you did. You know, you get to see a head above water, and you really start to understand what is going on and how everything is so connected. But when we're not operating from our own self-awareness and in tune with our intuition, we can really get lost in the everyday noise of our society. And this is what causes us to be tapped out from our true power within. So essentially, I want to help bring people back into their own power.
I love that. And, you know, for the entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening, don't hop off, right? There's a lot of things that she's bringing up that we have found, and especially I've worked with a lot of people where when positioned in the right way, you're speaking at Victoria in a way that really resonates with who you are and how you resonate. A lot of us, especially men, right? We hear these type of things of energy and things of that nature. We want to shun it away or push it off, but it's the same concept as if I would have told you, have you ever walked into a party and understood that you belong compared to you didn't, right? Men can understand that very well. Women on the room, right? So women can take any room and have the control over it. Men feel that energy. So there's millions of ways for you to look at what Victoria is saying here, but look at it in the eyes of finding the way for you to feel comfortable, confident, and structured in every position that you're in, and being able to see the world in a way that isn't negative, that isn't daunting, that gives you confidence in every day of what you do. So Victoria, I got to ask, with that being said, with people looking at things much differently, what is your ideal customer? Like, who's the type of people that you want to work with and show them this path? Who have you been working with in the past?
I've been working with a lot of industry leaders, entrepreneurs, creatives, people that are very open and people that want more, people that have reached a certain level of success and now they're asking the bigger questions. They're looking at the bigger picture. What do I really want to bring into this world, and what do I want to make of myself, and how do I want to share my experiences with others? How do I want to connect with others? So it's really people that are aligned, understand the power of health, and also because what I also love to create is I think networking is everything, and I've always said that it's the power of people coming together. So what I also do with these expansions is really select and curate the right people and bring them together, because if the right people hold on, I want to say this correctly. It's really about bringing the right people together. And when we can mix our energies together, then anything is possible.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I have to ask, because you're very positive. Your energy is strong. You can radiate right through the video here. But as an entrepreneur, you go through trials and tribulations. You go through difficulties. You go through hard times, and it's what makes us into the individual that excels against the others, right? Entrepreneurs, successful ones, especially ones that have lasted more than 5 years in this industry, are a different breed of human. So I'm curious, do you have maybe a challenge, a difficulty, a failure that you've experienced over the progression of your business that changed your mindset? Obviously, you had the awakening 13 years ago that created this whole mindset that you wanted to go. But as you went down this path of being an entrepreneur, any stories that you'd like to share to our listeners that changed your mentality of how to do business or how to serve your customers?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a journey, and being an entrepreneur is not easy because you're on your own. I mean, you have to start on your own. So you're not going into already a structured company that you're going to have that support. And especially as a woman, I had this dream 13 years ago, but it took me all these years to develop. And I had to even grow into myself, into my own confidence, and have more experience before I could really bring this and offer it to people. So what I spent the last 13 years doing is learning as much as I could, connecting with the right people, building the right relationships, and excelling in terms of the experiences I was having with the technologies I was discovering, to then one day bring it all together. And I started, even before this company, before I had the confidence to really bring this all together, I tried to start an XR company as well, which it failed. So I started really immersing myself in I was going to every conference you can imagine on business. I dropped out of a business school university 13 years ago, but I was like, okay, now I have to get back. This is exactly what I want to do, and just relearn what it is to start a business, how it operates. And it's not easy, but if you have the right motivation and you can find the right support, and you just got to keep focused on the mission. You're going to have really good days and you're going to have really bad days. Some days you're going to make money, some days you're not going to make money. But for me, it was never really about money, because I always believe that comes in. And if you stay connected and in tune with your why, then it always works out.
On your mission. I love that. It's a golden nugget for all entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now. Sometimes we lose that mission. Sometimes we've never even documented the mission, right? We have to ensure as entrepreneurs and business owners, if we're going out there to do something in this world, to solve a problem, to execute something, it is a mission. And to stay on that mission, as Victoria said, is one of the most powerful things and most difficult things to do. But as long as you stay true to yourself, stay true to your why, which I absolutely love, you will find success and persistency, right? Obviously, 13 years of you doing this, it takes a lot of energy and hard work to keep going at the same mission and keeping that why still in the back of your mind through everything that's coming up.
I've also trained myself, like, again, through experience, to see even the bad times or the hard times, that you learn from that. And essentially, there is no bad, because even if you fail, first you're trying, so that's amazing in itself. But you learn something, and it's only like when you fail or something bad happens, it's only taking you to somewhere better that you're actually meant to be. So we can train our mindset to understand that there is no bad that happens in our lives. We really start looking at everything more positively, but we see things as opportunities as opposed to obstacles. And again, if we have that mindset, especially as an entrepreneur, then anything is possible.
I love that. And especially with the mindset positioning. I mean, I say this, I train a lot of young kids in a sport that's very high intensity, and it's insane to most people for young children to play the sport that I play, which is professional paintball. But the one thing that I teach them very, very early that allows them to really reframe their mindset is that excitement and anxiety are the same neurological impulse in your brain. The only difference is, are you feeling confident or happy when you feel that feeling, or are you feeling fearful or sad when you feel that feeling, that neurological impulse? If you're happy, it becomes excitement. If you're scared or you're fearful, it becomes anxiety. And you have the opportunity at any given moment to alter that by adjusting your thought process and really being able to control. I believe it was Maslow hierarchy of needs. It said that only 1% of the 1% would actually be able to find enlightenment, which is the differentiation of understanding your emotional self compared to your physical self, and being able to alter your emotional standpoint and your thought process by being in a third person, in a position where you can see both very clearly. And I believe a lot of entrepreneurs fight to be in that state. And once you are in that state, you have the opportunity to really decide your future, decide your energy, decide your emotions, and decide how your life is going to be. Victoria, I'm loving everything that we're talking about.
It's like kind of like being in the zone, as an athlete. It's like being in the zone. How do you tap into that state where everything is in flow? You rise above. You're so connected and so present with yourself and around you that this is beautiful. It's beautiful.
And it's really just being yourself. And that's the
exactly.
That's the hard part. To get rid of distractions, to get rid of the mindset, to get rid of the fear, to get rid of the anxiety. Flow is not high or low. It's who you truly are, at what you've developed over time. It's something that I fight to find on a consistent basis, right? I feel like once you get into that flow state, which I've felt multiple times, is you are your best self, and it's exciting to be there. I got to ask, because I believe you're on the cutting edge, right? You're in a position where you're bringing in technology, you're leveraging locations, you're understanding the mindset of the consumers, mindset of your individuals that you're helping with, and you're putting them in a position to not only be a better person, but to also understand the world around them. Do you feel like you're ahead of the ball and the people are going to be catching up with you in your industry, or do you find that the health and wellness industry itself is just going in multiple different ways?
It's interesting because I've been able to witness, let's say, the wellness industry, how it's been in the past 13 years. And 13 years ago, I mean, if you compare it to where we are now, it's definitely catapulted tremendously. We still have a long ways to go, for sure. I do see that. But now people are starting to become more aware that self-improvement, we see, even, for example, travel tourism. Now people are not looking to travel just to book a nice hotel, but they're asking hotels, what wellness services do you offer? Or are you offering meditation? Are you offering ice baths and saunas, for example? So even though the consumer mindset is shifting into more of they're looking for conscious experiences. And this is very interesting.
Yeah. And, I'm so happy to see. We went through especially in America, we went through such an age where prescription medicine was the only solution, right?
I was going to mention the pharmaceutical industry, how we still have a ways to go, because this is still the number one solution for a lot of things. And once we kind of get that out of the way, I think we can really thrive as a society, for sure.
And it blows my mind, after all the studies of the blue zones, those areas where the consumers are just living to a lot higher age, right? And there's no prescription medicine in those areas, right? They're one with themselves, one with nature. They're eating healthy. They're not eating enriched flours and high fructose corn syrup, right? There.
Exactly. And I always say, when we get a pain point, a headache, whatever it is, that is just your body trying to communicate to you that something is wrong. So what should we do in that situation is listen to our bodies. Take that warning as, okay, I need to shift or change something in my everyday that is causing something in my body to not operate at its best. But instead, we are told and sold the idea that if we take a medication, if we take a pill and silence that communication, then we can just go on about our day without feeling any pain. But again, we're not addressing the root cause of that pain. So we're just putting a Band-Aid over it, numbing it, and then later on, it's going to blow up in our face. So this is what's happening. And then we're being fed even more pills because of the side effects of first not listening to our bodies. So it's just like this vicious cycle of not healing. And it's very unfortunate.
I could go down a rabbit hole for hours on that
So
one.
could I.
I want to shift. I only have a few more questions for you, but this one's my favorite and I believe one of the most important. So Kaizen is a Japanese concept. It's a Japanese ideology that means small steps going after a larger goal, or 1% improvement every single day to reach a larger level of enlightenment and monetary returns and physical returns. I have to ask you, Victoria, how do you find your Kaizen? What do you do on a daily basis to ensure that you're always improving a little bit every single day?
Oh, it's a beautiful question. And I think that's a very good motto, because essentially this is also what I preach and also what I practice. Every day we wake up is an opportunity to improve. Not only improve ourselves, which then is a gift to others because we can give more of ourselves to others, but it's an adventure. And if we are present in our everyday, then we can be aware of what we actually want to. Hold on, I lost my train of thought, Kyle.
You're good. It's all post-edited.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I want to say it correctly though. Hold on. Okay, let's go back and ask me the question again.
Okay, yeah, got it. My favorite question, and I find what to be most important for all entrepreneurs, is how do you find your Kaizen? Kaizen is a Japanese business ideology that means small steps to going after a larger goal, or 1% improvement every single day. So I have to ask you, Victoria, what do you do to make sure that you're improving and you're going towards your goals at least 1% every single day?
Beautiful. So I really love this motto a lot, and I think it's a great equation to a beautiful solution of life. Essentially, I try to always follow my intuition, and I already have, like, let's say, the pillars that I know that makes me feel good and accomplished. So I try to activate those pillars every single day. One thing that I find truly fulfilling is human connection. So if I can make someone smile or exchange kindness with somebody, this makes me feel good and also motivated to keep going even in my own mission. So I really try to find pillars that improve my own state as well as others. And if you combine these two, then you always feel like you're moving forward and you're learning and you're being stimulated, you're being fulfilled. Because if you stand still and you cut off, let's say, even human connection, then you're always going to feel that you're not improving, you're not moving forward. And I think this is what opens, the door to depression and stress and anxiety, because essentially anxiety is the frustration of knowing that we can do something, that we should be doing actions, but it's the lack of actions that's causing us to have the anxiety.
Oh, I love that. Lack of actions is causing the anxiety. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it fits so well with your business, right? To find that love language that you have of that connection of people and to share excitement and happiness with other people, and then to build a business like you have today that allows people to find their own level of connection to the world, for their own level of love, and to be able to connect a little bit deeper and a better understanding of themselves as well as the world around them. Victoria, amazing time. Absolutely incredible. Like I said, we could go for another hour talking about how people can progress and how they can connect better and how they can see what the world really has. So how do people, if they want to start down this journey, if they've heard this podcast now and they're like, okay, she makes a lot of sense, I want to know what's my first step. Is there anything that you could recommend, maybe a book or a podcast or something to get them started down this journey?
Yeah, I just recently read the book Dopamine Nation. And I found this to be a very interesting book because I never really considered myself overly stimulated. I tried to be more neutral, but it really points out where we are today as a society, and it brings a lot of awareness and information to how we're being overly stimulated. So I think to start off with this book is really, really nice. I just finished it, so I would definitely recommend this. It kind of to give you a baseline of where you actually want to be, and then what's the direction you want to take. This book helps put things into perspective.
Dopamine Society, what was it?
Dopamine Nation.
Dopamine Nation, right? Dopamine Nation. Say they're at the next step. Say they're resonating with you. They love it. Maybe they're an entrepreneur. They're their ideal customer for your business. How do they connect with you? How do they find you? How do they get started down the process of going to one of your expansions?
Yes. So sign up on my website where we have a process where we We select candidates to join us. I call them visionaries. People that really bring this level, this frequency to our group. So definitely sign up on the website and join us.
Awesome. We're going to have her website posted below in the description. And if you guys have finished this episode, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Victoria, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you continue to expand your love, your appreciation, and the connection that you're bringing to people and the world together. And I hope high success for your business, because I truly believe the world needs it.
Thank you so much, Kyle. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure
Awesome.
to talk to you.
See everybody on the next Kaizen podcast.